Hi, this is Lady Lex UK and here is a Project Spark tutorial. I've recently been working on Tomb Raider style game mechanics for my website, which is School of Code, that's code with a K, schoolofcode.wordpress.com, and this is a website full of tutorials and there's a game archive for all things Project Spark. Go there for all things Project Spark. This tutorial is for flame arrows. This is how to create a mechanic that allows you to catch things on fire by firing flaming arrows into them. So let's get on with it. Let's start off. You need your Lara Croft character. This is a standard default third-person adventure. And I have a bow and an arrow. You can use any bow, any arrow, any combination of bows and arrows that you wish to use. Okay, this is my arrow, so we'll go into its brain. Now, what we want to do here, we'll leave this. This is the default code. We need that. We're not going to change that. That can stay. What we're going to add is a special effect that put in fire that adds a flame to the arrow. Now there's lots of flame effects in Project Spark. Most of them are quite big, so we don't have to worry about scale and things like that. I'm just going to use the candle flame because that's just about the right size, and we're going to put it at the socket of head, which is the arrowhead on the arrow. And we only want it to play when we toggle on a boolean. So we've got create a boolean, global boolean, flame arrows. I've already created this boolean. There we go. So when global flame arrows, you play the candle flame at the socket of the head. Now we need to make a copy of this arrow. Now this one is going to be our projectile and this one is going to be a visual aid on our bow. So we'll make this one a template so we know this is the one we're going to use as our projectile. So it's gone pink. And now this one, because we're going to use it as attached to our bow just visually, we don't actually want it to act as an arrow. We can leave the brain alone. It's not going to do anything we don't want it to because it's never going to be a projectile, and we do want the code that turns the flame effect on. So we leave the brain alone. All we need to do is set into the properties, into the physics, make it non-collidable and fixed. We then attach the arrow to the bow and then put it into position. I think I want it sort of there-ish, like that, I think. Okay, now we're going into our player brain and we're going to equip the bow. So once, whoops, equip bow. And now we need to set up the controller button, and I'm going to use the D-pad. So D-pad up, pressed. So when the D-pad up is pressed, we want to toggle the boolean on and off. So when you press the D-pad up, it's going to turn it on or off. Global boolean flame arrows. Okay. So that's our main effect, and then we want to make sure that it's shooting our new arrow that we've created. So we go in the world picker and we pick up our new arrow. Otherwise it's just going to throw a standard arrow out, and we wanted to throw our flame arrows. So let's have a look and see how that works. Yeah, so she's got a bow equipped with the arrow laying on it. I think I would need to move that arrow so that it was above her hand rather than below it, but you can always change that. And we're going to toggle and press up on the D-pad now, and we have a flame. Press it again, and the flame goes away. Put it back on, and it's fire. And as you can see, there's a special effect on that. You can see it's on fire. There we go. But if I hit anything with it, nothing very much happens. There's a little sort of burst of fire, but I mean, it doesn't really do much. So we now need to put in a mechanic that's going to set things on fire. So we'll go back into our player brain, and we'll go down to the shoot, and you'll say, right, when global flame arrows is on, and only when it's on, because you only want this effect to happen then, and you hit something ranged, so you hit something with your arrow, and then whoops, started to it add brain, and there is a brain in the gallery called damage over time burn, and we'll put that in for now. So we're saying when global flame arrows is on and you hit it with a ranged attack, and when you start to do that, add this brain. Now there is a problem with this, in that if you hit the player after he's already on fire, it keeps adding brain, so we want to stop this. So instead we'll go when not it has brain damage over time, and we'll put a started to there. Started to, not it has brain damage over time, it adds brain damage over time. So if it hasn't got the brain already, it'll add the brain if it's attacked and hit by an arrow. Okay, so let's see how that works. So nothing happens when I'm firing ordinary arrows. Turn my flame arrows on, and it lit this object alight. So this is now on fire, and it will burn with the flame effect on it. It will go orange, and then it will go back to its normal color again. Let's fire again. It's gone orange. It's flaming away. And it's gone back to its color again. Okay, so that works lovely. Now here is a character without a brain on, and you'll see it doesn't do anything. The brain has to be active on a character or an object for this to work, because an inactive brain will not run code. So we will activate this enemy's brain, turn him on. Brain is active. True. I've got just an enemy brain in this guy. Okay, so I'll up with my D-pad, turn my flame arrows on, and fire him. Now, this is the default team to code of brain. Now, in an object, it doesn't look too bad. In a character, it suddenly looks bizarre. His hair's changed colour. His clothes have changed colour. And the flames are just around his feet. His feet are on fire. It's all a little bit odd. If an object is standing still, then the flames look quite good. But when it's in a character, and he's just standing still, look, it's not all that great. So I've devised another brain. You can find the brain on my tutorial, and also it's the alternate brain for the damage burn, damage over time, burn brain in the brain gallery if you want to look that up too. It's the same brain. So if you look at Fire Arrow tutorial, you'll find this brain, it's all listed out. So instead of the damage over time brain, I'm going to in world pick the brain in this logic cube. And there we go. Now then, here is the difference. He's a lot more on fire. He's flashing red and yellow. It's a very similar to the other brain, but I think it's a little bit more dramatic. And there we are. You don't get the ginger hair effect, which is all a bit bizarre. I mean, you can alter this brain as much as you like to whatever effect you like. Let's just fire at that so you can see what it looks like in an object. I think that looks quite good. Okay, so that's that. Now then, we'll turn his brain off because we don't want him anymore. Now in Lara Croft, it's not everything that's flammable. You can't just fire arrows at everything and everything's going to catch fire. And it's probably good in your game if you don't have that either. So I've got two objects here that I can fire arrows at. And in Lara Croft, it's the white objects that are flammable. So I'm going to make this object flammable and this object not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a variable in here. I'm going to add a Boolean variable in here. It doesn't need to be global, it needs to be local. Saying flammable equals true. And then in my player brain, I'm saying if it is flammable and there we go. So now it's only going to create the flaming effect if flame arrows is on, you hit something with an arrow, it's flammable, then you add the brain. So let's see how that works. So I've got two objects here. I'll fire at that one. Nothing. And nothing. Put the flame arrows on. Fire at that. You can see it's hitting it. Nothing's happening. Fire at the white one. And it catches fire. So that's it then. That's basically it for the fire arrows. That will burn and then stop. And go back to its normal colour. And we can hit it again. There we go. Very, very simple. Boom. And done. There we are. So you've got a simple mechanic that you can use to catch things on fire. It won't catch other things on fire. You'd need another tutorial for that, but I think this is pretty good. I hope you enjoyed it and keep on sparking.